I'm curious, how do you balance your creative outlet? Just like get a little bit of creativity out. It could be, anything.
Wank.
Okay. Oh, ho, ho, happy holidays. Saint Nick is here with his lovely elves to talk to you about creativity and why people don't want to be creative anymore. Why is that? How do you find your passion? Where do your ideas come from? We're going to talk about that and more on today's podcast of The Stream Room. My name is Nicktacular, and I'm joined by...
Hello, I am Reapz, or Elf Reapz, king of the elves, something like that. How you going?
I thought Santa was king of the elves.
Listen, there's... Hey, Eljay, how you going?
Hey, I'm Eljay. I'm actually not king of the elves.
Oh.
I do not believe in patriarchy or monarchy. I believe in fair elected results, which is why I'm running on a new platform. Free dildos for elves. If you vote for me.
Free dildos?
Yeah, Prime Minister of the elves.
Can't they just make it themselves? They've got like a whole workshop that they can just...
No, they're too busy because King of the Elves Santa keeps on making them get down and dirty, and I'm here to say I will get you freebies if you vote for me, Eljay, democratically to become Prime Minister of Elfkind.
When is the election?
Oh shit, it was yesterday.
I was going to say, mate, this is why I'm wearing the crown and apparently being given birth to an elf. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and Danny DeVito's your second in charge, clearly.
That's
as
my
well?
dad, dude. Why do you keep
Oh,
saying
I'm
Danny
sorry,
DeVito?
Nick, come on, man.
He looks nothing like Danny DeVito. Like
Nick.
what?
I'm sorry. I just keep forgetting. My memory's terrible. I apologize.
Unbelievable. I'm sorry about that, Eljay. I'm really
He's
apologize.
just constantly attacking.
I know. I'm sorry. We'll cut it out. That's fine.
Hey boys, how you doing? By the way?
Good. I should say thank you to everyone. As Nick, it is Christmas or the day after Christmas when this drops. I think it's the day after because it's a Monday.
I think for America, it's literally Christmas Day, so we're going to get no views on it. But I think for Australia,
Excellent.
it is like midnight, maybe of it or
so
something.
It's Boxing Day. It's Boxing Day.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
Boxing Day, Australia. In America, it's actually Christmas.
So happy whatever you celebrate day is the main thing. And you know what we celebrate? Likes, comments, subscriptions. Those are our presents.
Depends on the comment.
That's true. Yeah, you're right there. You're right.
Depends on the comment. Be real bad, man.
I'd like to put forward a vote to change it from Boxing Day to Chess Boxing Day.
Mate, I'm still
people loved
thinking
last
about
episode.
That. Oh my god, I'm still thinking about the.
Did you see that he one-upped it? Maybe not one-upped it, but he just kept going. He's done a whole fucking live stream where he and Connor, or CdawgVA, did a sushi cooking off with a 7-star Michelin chef, teaching them how to cook sushi.
It was great.
And it was such high quality, like
Incredible.
so high quality.
And you know what? It knew exactly what bounds it had to be in. It was only like a 2-hour stream, right? But the views on it were so high, even though it was only 2 hours, but it was just so entertaining. It was honestly very, very, very good.
My favorite part about that whole stream, if you don't know sure what we're talking about, Ludwig did his chess boxing event, and then literally a few days later, they flew to San Francisco, had a live production team stream him and CdawgVA with a 6-star, 7-star Michelin sushi chef, teaching them how to make sushi and giving them challenges to see who would win. And the winner would get a 6, 7-star Michelin meal, and then the loser would have to do the dishes for the day. I won't spoil it. It's great to watch. Probably going to be a video, hopefully. But it was so well done. They had 3 different cams the whole time, and they were using them live, vision switching the whole thing, so it looked like a perfect video. The chef was hilarious. They were all drinking sake the whole time, so it got more and more off the rails, but in a way that didn't feel sloppy. It felt like well done.
Yes.
But the thing I loved most about it was, it's high quality because for the first 30 minutes of the broadcast, people were spamming, is this pre-recorded? Because it was so well done, right? And then, of course, it wasn't pre-recorded whatsoever. And Ludwig said, no, it's not. But everyone was so surprised because they literally thought it was because of the music. The music was so carefully timed with all of the editing, everything like that. And you think to yourself, well, there's a guy with a soundboard playing like, I don't know what the official name of the instrument is. It's like a Japanese one that lays across the lap of the guy and he flicks it like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, they thought it was all like a soundboard, or they had a bunch of stingers set up to go, pressing buttons to sting sound goes. No, they had a professional musician fully rigged up into the live stream and sat off to the side playing it as they go. So when it got really tense and dramatic with like a sharp knife, he was like,
No way.
It was
That's
so
amazing.
well done.
I
It
didn't
was
know
a
that
great
part.
reveal, Nick. It was such an amazing reveal when you see the camera swing over to this man on the side of the stage. You see, like, C stands and everything behind him, and he's just playing the music. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It was so. It was also like, just like when one of those reveals where you think to yourself, yeah, why wouldn't you do that? That's the best idea ever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's amazing. It's like how you go see Star Wars and you have an actual orchestra. It's like one of those edits of Star Wars that has no music, but there's an orchestra in the front who plays the music for it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, dude, that's just like so cool.
It was amazing. And like, speaking of creativity, because I know that's what we're going to be discussing today, can we briefly touch on the fact of Jerma's crazy Christmas tree?
This is going to be 90% of what I want to talk about today.
Sorry, I went in the deep end there, but it was
Holy crap.
phenomenal.
Were you guys watching it live? I was watching it live when it happened.
No, I wasn't. I saw like afterwards.
I was gonna say
Stop.
you need to fill me in because I only got to watch like 15 minutes of the Ludwig stream and I didn't see anything of Jerma's.
Okay, so Jerma everyone knows Jerma is one of the most creative people on the entirety of Twitch, right? But he's also he doesn't follow the Twitch mold either. It's really, really interesting. You know how there's sometimes those people who they just kind of like break all of the rules that you have, right? Like Drew Gooden, for example, is a good version of YouTube, right? You watch his videos and you're like, these are amazing, they get millions of views, but they don't follow the rules that YouTube has set up that creators are supposed to do. Same with Donkey, right? Jerma is kind of that for live streaming. Okay, like he does not follow a single rule of live streaming, and that doesn't mean you should do what he does, but it also doesn't mean that he should not do the other stuff. It's just really interesting. So what he did was he does this thing every year where he does a holiday awards extravaganza where he gives out awards for the best moments throughout the year for himself, and then some other categories as well for clips and things. And as it kicks off, they start doing this Christmas Carol, and then randomly during the Christmas Carol of like 4 or 5 of them singing, it like hard like glitch cuts sort of, and there's this guy in a room eating Doritos. His stream got hacked, right? And it was like it looked exactly like how it would be normal hack, everything like that. And everyone's freaking the out. Jerma's freaking the out. He to try save it, he goes live on another account really quickly, and they keep on going through it. And then it's revealed the whole thing is it's a bit. He set up a perfect bit, right, to make it look like the stream got hacked and everything was going wrong. He's there like freaking out, getting panicked and stuff. But the reason it reveals it's a bit is because a character from his stream, Mr. Bugleworth, rocks up and tries to do his cooking segment. And he can't do the cooking segment. Jerma's like, you can't do it right now, man. I'm really sorry. We've been hacked and blah, blah, blah. And he starts getting mad. And he's like, what websites have you gone to? Like yelling at him and stuff like that, doing stuff. And he goes, can you do something? Do you have like some magic or something? And he goes, you told me not to bring my spell books and all this stuff. Like it's wacky, right? So he grabs some ketchup, draws a satanic circle. The set explodes with a hole open. And he's like, Jerma, you must sacrifice something if you want your stream back. Like going hard at him, like yelling at him. And Jerma's like, no. And they're like, we must take your presents, Jerma. And he runs in and starts stealing Jerma's presents and throwing them in the hole. The hole starts glowing with red smoke and dragging Buglesworth into it. He gets dragged in. The green screen has like a window with a green screen behind it that goes from snow to like fucking hell and brimfire and all sorts of stuff. The stream has this big red glowing hole in it now where Jerma throws his hand in and grabs the guy who's pretending to be the hacker from the other stream and starts choking him through the screen. And then it pulls it back out, kicks his foot through. The guy steals his shoe, pulls his foot back out. It's amazing.
Oh my
right?
God.
It is absolutely amazingly well done. So smooth. All of it is live with production as well, responding and stuff like that. And then like it all erupts into the fact that Santa rocks up and starts yelling at them for using devil magic to do all this stuff and how you shouldn't be naughty and stuff like that. And he gives them each a Santa wish. Says you can have a Christmas wish if you apologize to each other and make it right. And the hacker goes, I just want to be silver in league. And then Jerma goes, I just want everything to go back to the way it was before I got hacked. And bam, it all goes back to the way it was and he continues his show. But it was so amazing. Mm-hmm. The stream had like 40,000 views before all this went down. And then after this went down, he had his second stream go up, which had like 40,000 on it. And then the main one had 40,000. Everyone was freaking out on Twitter. So it drew in so much more traction. And then as the streams collided back together after the Satan Circle and stuff like that, and Santa rocked up, he used his second channel to raid back into his main channel. And he went from 30 to 40,000 to like 75, 80,000 average viewers. It was so smart. It was so well done. It was so cool.
It was honestly phenomenal. And that was the big thing is like, while this is all happening, there's one stream showing one thing and another stream showing another. So it's showing the hacker's side of view side, and he's just playing Modern Warfare 2. And then he challenges Jerma to a game of Modern Warfare 2 to get back, you know, Jerma's channel. And of course he loses before, you know, the satanic stuff. And it's hilarious because it's an off-brand, I think, production because, you know, Out was there, Ludwig was there. And it was just unusual. It wasn't this thing of like grandiose or anything like that. It was just such a specific idea done so well that like cuts between like breaking the fourth wall and everything. And it really was something to see, Nick. If you can go and watch like the highlights, because Jerma, I think it's Jerma Clips or something. He's got like little highlights. Definitely go and see it because it is something else.
Definitely gonna have to see this.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
very
How
cool.
long? So how long did this entire like ordeal go for?
A good while. I'd say like maybe like 20 to 40 minutes, maybe.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't insignificant. Like it was.
No, it was, and it really was a very carefully pulled together like whole segment. Like as I said, so like they obviously the rooms weren't necessarily connected. So when he punched through the glowing red hole that was out of camera frame, he literally like had someone else synced up to punch through up at the hacker, right? And they were timing it all so like carefully and stuff, and like kicking his leg through and trying to strangle him and things. Like all of it was just so well done, and you can tell how good of an off-brand production these guys are doing, right? Like they just have not missed. You know what I mean? The closest to missing, I think, was Juiced, right? And that was like one of their first ones. And I don't necessarily think it was that it missed. I think it was another game show, and game shows really heavily rely on two things: the host and the people participating to like understand what is required. And if you're not, whereas the other ones are like, all the other events are being run by just one person who understands the kind of story that they're telling.
Yeah.
So it's like they've been way smoother.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was so good. Holy these guys are creative.
Yeah.
Man, I need to have a look at this. I hope that there's like some sort of like video that he puts up that's like kind of like just has that whole thing so I can watch it because that sounds absolutely fucking
I'm sure
insane.
they'll have to do something because it really is something to be seen all throughout. Yeah, definitely watch it.
It was just so amazing to watch it from both streams as well. Because like obviously you end up with both streams up, right? Like, and you're sat there and you think to yourself, this is just like, what the is happening? And then it's amazing. It's just, it was such a wild, amazing, wild stream. I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
Like it was so well done.
It was very well done. I want to touch on something very quickly that goes into this. It's like, you know, when you talk about creativity versus kind of like a technical superiority, like, you know, oh, wow, that's amazing in terms of just like spectacle. Last night, boys, I went back on my word and I went to see Avatar 2 in 3D high frame rate.
That's
saw
the same as the Hobbit, right?
Yeah, it was the same as
yeah.
the Hobbit, and I hated the Hobbit in high frame rate. I was just like, you know, it's like that motion smoothing they put on all the TVs and everything was like a soap opera and stuff. It actually worked for this because it is a spectacle. Like as soon as you go underneath the water and it creates this like whole world, you're like, holy crap, this technology is out of this world. But there is no story. It is literally you're seeing blue things swim in the water, fire some guns, and it's 3 hours. And I'm like, dude, you need to cut this down, Cameron. Still amazing, but oh my God.
I like that you said that as if you're friends. Cameron, you need to cut it down.
Jim, come on. I call him Jim. Jim, if you're listening, you need to cut down from the 3 hours, mate, because it was just so much. I mean, he just wanted to show. It felt like a demo more than an actual movie. It's like, this is what we can do with this.
That's what the original Avatar was.
Yeah.
As well. It felt like a demo as well.
Yes.
I'm going to go see it in a gold class or one of those like fancy ones.
Dude.
So and I'm just going to get loaded on beers while I watch it.
Mate, you have to.
Hell yeah.
Like, it's amazing. It honestly is a phenomenal thing to see. But once you're there, it's kind of like, ooh, there really is nothing going on apart from this amazing visuals. Yeah.
You know the Hobbit, right?
Yeah, it is.
The Hobbit had that, obviously was the first of its kind to do the HFR, right? And I think it was so bloody funny with that one because I worked at a cinema at the time, right? And so they were playing it on these big, like this is when the silver screens came in instead of like the normal projector screens. And so it was already looking way too crisp because people weren't used to it. And then it was also, now it was super, super high frame rate. So people were really like, whatever. We had to clean up so much puke.
No,
people were literally throwing up because of the Hobbit film. I'm not joking.
Okay, here's the thing.
Gross.
I think if you're a gamer, you will like high frame rate because we're used to our cutscenes now being in 60 FPS. You know what I mean? Like you can tell the difference when it goes from 48 FPS to 24 FPS in the movie.
Yeah.
Like you'll notice it immediately, Eljay.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't think people who aren't gamers are used to that because they're used to seeing things very standard, you know, like whatever it is, motion smoothing or just going with 24 frames. But with this one, I did not feel the same way that I felt when I saw The Hobbit, because at The Hobbit, it's kind of like a new kind of format. But now, because I've seen so many things in, 120 hertz refresh rate, 60 frames per second, I'm like, perfect, smooth, love it. I'm in this world. And it is a big video game. Everything is CGI. There's maybe one human being, in some scenes, you're like, okay, interesting. But it is watching a video game cutscene. That is what Avatar is. So if you're a gamer, I think you won't notice it. Go see it in HFR. But if you're not really much so a gamer, although while you're listening to this, go see it in the normal 3D 24 frames per second is what I would recommend.
I was good. Yeah, that was all something I wanted to clarify, because I remember reading something about him defending like the high frame rate. So he's done. Is it the whole movie or parts of the movie?
So he shot parts of the movie in high frame rate. The other parts were shot in normal 24 FPS, but he uses technology like you would see on a TV to smooth out the 24 FPS, so it looks like 48, but it's really not 48 FPS. You'll notice it immediately if you go see the HFR. It just completely shifts, and you're like, ooh my, ooh dear.
It sounds interesting though. I'm keen to see it, because like seeing the trailer and just seeing how some scenes just look so photoreal. I'm just like, oh
yeah. Don't see 2D. Go 3D. You have to go full 3D. I think, for it. But that's just me. Sorry, complete aside, just touching on creativity versus spectacle. Anyway, Nick, take over from us. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, so look, it's a good segue talking about all of, Ludwig's live stream and his, sushi thing and Jerma's Christmas stuff, talking about creativity and just how we come up with ideas in general. And also this sort of problem that I think we've all noticed in content creation recently and, sort of in the past year as well, is as YouTube is sort of, climbing in terms of its feature set and everything it's offering creators, but so many just seem like they don't want to put the work in. They don't want the creative part of content creation seems to be forgotten about.
Yes.
People just, want to be content creators, or they want to call themselves content creators, but realistically, they just want to be streamers. They just want to go live. They just want to be able to go live and then that's it, and then have no work to do afterwards. And so today's sort of us sort of discussing what, why that is, what it comes down to, what I guess what their motivations are, why they got into any form of content creation in the first place, and talking about our processes of how we all get into it. How do we brainstorm what to do next? Where do we find our ideas from? Where do we draw inspiration from? Because I mean, to be realistic, like ideas, most ideas aren't, purely just, your own. Like there's always going to be inspiration taken from somewhere. It's twisted from something else. So I wanted to start with, what do you think, what are your thoughts on sort of this whole sort of trend of like people, I guess, not wanting to like, actually make proper videos, or not wanting to diversify, want to try different platforms?
I think it's pretty apt timing, to be honest, because 3 days ago I released a video on SSN called Why You Need to Stop Streaming in 2023, which was just a general look at the fact that we've lost millions of hours of watch time every single fucking month for the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And talking about the discovery and changes and stuff like that. And I expected myself to get ripped over hot coals. So I went into it like really just being like, hey, look, I apologize for this. I know you don't want to hear this. Please don't rip me apart. I'm just going. It's like I was really honest, gave them lots of analytics, showed them that stuff. And I just took it from a very like concerned point of view. And shockingly, I've had like 300 people commenting, and almost none of them have in any shape, way or form, because this is a video that's done quite well. It's in a couple of days, it's gotten like 30,000 views or something.
It's amazing.
But almost none of them were negative. Like almost none of them were saying, yeah, I fuck you. I just want to be a streamer.
Yeah.
They actually, I don't know whether or not it's a matter of the time or the way it's spoken or what it is, but the majority of people are starting to clue in to the idea of what you just mentioned, in the sense that like they're starting to realize it. And you're right. They're asking themselves the question now, how do I come up with ideas? Right. And I think one of the big things with this is that a lot of the time people watch and absorb things, and that's actually kind of where they get their ideas without thinking about it. So a big problem I'm noticing when I talk to people, they'll be like, oh yeah, I understand that Twitch isn't discoverable. I'm going to start making TikToks or YouTube shorts, but I just don't know what to make them about. And I always say the same thing. Oh, what do you like watching on YouTube shorts? And I'm noticing a massive issue. And it's not a matter of not being creative. It's a matter of them really not respecting the format.
Okay.
Like I had someone the other day say, I don't watch shorts, I just make them. I think shorts are the trash of YouTube. Or they said, like, I call shorts the trash of YouTube. Wow. And I said, then you shouldn't bother making shorts.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a fair statement, because if you don't even respect or care about the format, like, you clearly don't respect the people who enjoy watching them.
Yeah.
So why are people going to enjoy watching your stuff, you know?
Agreed.
And I think that's a big thing is people think, oh, I'm just not very creative. And it's like, well, it's probably more so you just haven't absorbed the content in a lucid way, right? You know, and I think that's a big thing is they aren't passionate about the topic they're choosing to make content around, so there's no excitement there to come up with ideas, and B, they're probably not absorbing the content. That's what I reckon it is. I reckon if they were excited, they'd be way more eager to actually come up with ideas and make stuff.
I think when we all wanted to become content creators, we talked in podcasts back about how we used to watch the early days of YouTube and those creators that inspired us. And I think that when you watch those people that inspire you, want to make content very similar to it. But the problem with making content so similar to the people that you aspire to be is that there already is a market for that, and they have the lion's share of that market. I'm not saying that you can never get up to that level, but I'm saying you are on the back foot already in trying to, get that kind of following. So it is what we talked about with the twist, the yoink and twist rather, where you take an idea that you really were inspired by from whatever creator, and then you go, how can I twist this a little bit to make it a bit more towards me and something that's outside the box, for instance? Like, we can talk about the fact, I'm not sure if Iona wants me to say it, but, we have our little old Discord, and she said, the reason why I've seen such success is because I didn't know the difference of if I want to make like makeup tutorials, or if I wanted to do kind of like Nintendo games or, gaming in general. And then she combined the two, which had the unique aspects of each, which to me is fascinating.
So it's not quite that she was split between it. She didn't ever want to do makeup tutorials. She just really enjoyed watching makeup tutorials. And so what she did was she took all the concepts of her favorite beauty YouTubers and then applied that to what she was passionate about, which was gaming and cozy gaming. And so, but then also there was another big shift there where she noticed she noticed that most of the people who do the type of content she now does were men, and B, when they talked about cozy games or games in general, they were really professional.
Right.
Like they were hosting or presenting. Whereas so she stripped it back and appealed to a whole new audience where she was being much more casual, much more authentic, very human, while still taking on the ideas of beauty gurus. And that advice that she actually gave to me as well to do something similar. And that's how I've come up with a lot of my recent videos is I'll go to someone like Linus Tech Tip or Magnus Midbo, people who aren't in the gaming space. And then I'd go to their top videos and I would start looking at titles as if they were templates, with keywords being able to be swapped out for things. And it's like, I survived 100 days in hardcore Minecraft. Okay, well, how do you take a title like that? I survived 100 days in Pokemon Scarlet or whatever, right? Like, you got to come up with these ideas and see what people do and then swap it. And I find that's like what she did. And it is incredibly, like, wildly helpful when you start looking at titles like templates, especially from other niches that aren't your own. Obviously, not everything works. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a listicle, which is where you do list content, or I'm not going to do education content on the Eljay channel. So I'm not going to go to a beauty guru and go top 5 Pokemon things, blah, 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 right? But at the same time, there are other things that I could look at, right? Like, as I said, the Magnus Midbo stuff. He did the hardest exercise challenge, the FBI test or whatever, right? And you can swap those keywords out and say things like, the hardest Mario Party test, the cheating CPU or whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
And when you start thinking of things like templates, it becomes wildly easier to make ideas and come up with content. I think on my Notion board right now, I probably couldn't count it, but if I went to my Notion board and went to my content calendar, so my YouTube one where I have all of my ideas for not Pokemon, Nuzlocke ideas, and then how it all runs out, looks like I've got 43 ideas that I'm currently writing, 9 that are fully prepared, 13 Nuzlocke, and 10 that aren't at all based on Pokemon or Nintendo. And then in my scripting and planning, I've got 3 things fully scripted and planned. I've got 1 thing that's currently being shot, and I have 3 things that are currently being edited. So like, you can come up with a shitload of ideas with a Notion, and then just put them all on a Notion board. And when you're excited, just click on one and drag it over.
Yeah.
Like
that's exactly it. I'm the same. I got like 15 ideas, like just kind of like concepts ready to go. And then like one that I'm kind of like working on right now. And Notion makes it very easy to just kind of get all your brain out there.
Yeah.
I just find that any kind of content calendar, for like a left to right content calendar, it's one of the reasons why Trello is so powerful. And I've shown it on SSN a bunch, but like I have my Trello and my Notion set up so it goes idea, scripting, preparing stage, shooting stage, editing stage, releasing stage. And then I put dates on each of them to say when I'd like them to go out in what order. And I just move the card across to each one so I can get an idea. And it's just like, you can just like see a few of them, right? Like building a professional Pokemon team, but a wheel decides who I pick, right? Like different things like that. The wheel one was, I think it wasn't a Ludwig. It was one of like Ludwig's style people. It was Ludwig because he said the 24 hours, but a wheel decides what I do.
Right.
And I thought, that's a cool idea. What if I tried to win 5 online ranked Pokemon games, but I have to use a wheel to decide my gimmick? And so I have that currently being filmed. And on my wheel, it says things like, all Pokemon must be the size of a jam jar, or all Pokemon must be edible. And the idea is that I spin it. It says they must be edible. I build a team of 6 that fit that ruling. And then I go in and try win 5 games.
Gotcha.
And it's kind of like these dumb ideas, but the idea is taking something and swapping it over. Another one was I saw someone do cooking Breath of the Wild dishes in real life. That's Doug. And I thought, I could do that. Making Pokemon Scarlet sandwiches in real life. And so I've started like putting together all the ingredients to make all the sandwiches from the game in real life and see if they actually are tasty. And that's my big thing.
That's really cool.
Just, you just take those templates, just go.
Yep. Just completely twist it. And that's how, I guess, that's how you kind of have these new ideas and sort of like genres being birthed. And it's probably like how, I guess you could always say, like, there's probably this how the whole challenge, like, quote unquote challenge meta, if you want to call it that, but like the whole like that whole challenge sort of type video probably came about in the first place. Is someone saw some other types of videos, maybe some IRL challenges or something, like, I'm going to twist this, but I'm going to do it in a game. You know, as I said, like, I'm sure, I don't know who was the first to do it, but obviously, made very popular with like Smant and Point Crow. But yeah, so like that, the same thing, it's just this constant loop of just ideas constantly being twisted and new things coming to light. But I've got to ask you a question though. Like, how do you think, like, how do you find the things that you're passionate about or the things that you want to make videos on? Because as you say, Eljay, it's like you say to people, find like what do you like, and obviously it requires you to like be consuming content on the platform. I think Reapz, you're still in sort of that phase. You sort of have an idea of what you want to sort of make videos on for YouTube channel, but you're still kind of getting there as well.
Yeah, well, I have like 10 ideas that I've written down. I've filmed one of them. Now it's just, the editing phase. But for me, it's kind of like, I really enjoy something that makes me want to film. That to me is my barometer. I don't know if that's other people, but obviously, there's going to be a time when you don't want to film, but I'm talking about like, oh man, I can't wait to film this piece of, content for myself to see how it turns out. And so what I've done is I filmed 8 hours of something, but it's only supposed to be about like 2 hours. But then I realized in the game that I'm hoping to do this challenge on, I've got to get to a certain state. So I had to play 6 hours of the game to get to that state. And I'm like, fuck. But when I was doing it, I found myself so enjoyable because you're right, Eljay. You talked about the fact that when you're just kind of being your own entertainer and there's no chat, there's no streaming, you can take that sigh of relief and be silent for 5 minutes. When you do have something funny to say, you're like, yeah, that felt right. That felt good. And the fact that I could entertain myself while filming myself for 6 to 8 hours, it felt really nice. And I'm excited to start editing it. And I think that's a big thing. If you write down an idea and you're kind of like, oh, and then I got to shoot it and then I got to do the thing, maybe that's going to show through your work in terms of you're not really that passionate about it. And people don't like watching things that are just kind of like hollow or a husk, or, you're just doing it to get the hours in type stuff. And you can see that on a lot of big gaming channels because, again, you look at people and when they've got to do like daily uploads, or they think they've got to do daily uploads and they've got to do, I've got to play this game and then this game and then this game, they kind of lose all creativity. It's more about the editing and the fast-paced style of what the editor chooses to use rather than what they're actually saying. And I think that if you have a great idea that you're passionate to film and you can't wait to edit, that to me is such a strong start. Now, how do you find that? That's really up to the individual, isn't it? Because I know that if you're like us boys, we've done filming. We know how to use different lenses. We know obviously color palettes, things like that. I can see it as a very daunting thing for somebody to film their first video, not realizing about mic quality, not realizing about lighting, and then going into the end and like, oh, this just looks shit, or things like that. It can be very, I don't know, detrimental to them, like keep going. But I think it doesn't matter. As long as you're actually taking those steps, you are going to learn along the way. And we're in such an amazing space right now where you can Google anything. The other day, I was like, how do I do the Thanos effect in After Effects? 50 billion tutorials, ones without plugins, ones with plugins. And I'm like, this is just a godsend that I can now just simply have an idea, type into Google, and people are like, this is how you do said idea or look. So yeah, it really is up to the individual on how they get excited about it. I mean, what gets you excited? Is it watching somebody else? But that's what inspires me more than anything.
No, that's really well put. And that's it. It's like you have to trial a bunch of different things. You're not going to come up with it overnight. Like it's gonna take time. But experiment. You have to experiment. You have to try and see what works for you. But it's a really interesting sort of like a sidestep from you talking about sort of like Googling and things like that. As Devin Nash posted a video a few days ago, about a week ago now, showing off this AI website, which is essentially, gives you like, you kind of like prompt it with some stuff and kind of give you some things back depending on how what you ask back from it. And it's a very interesting sort of way of using AI. And so to give you some background and for the audience to give you some background, this Devin is sort of showcasing how this AI is quite powerful and it's in its own way. So he starts off by showing doing something simple. So he writes the AI, write me 5 video titles about FPS games. And then the AI just spits back lists 5 different ones, goes best FPS games of 2021, guide for gamers, how to improve your FPS gameplay, FPS games for beginners, what to play, what to avoid, a comprehensive guide to FPS weapons and tactics, the ultimate FPS games tutorials for pros. So it's just like, bang, straight out there.
Yeah, but hot take, all those titles are shit.
Yeah.
Like, here's the problem. All those titles are shit. Like, here's the thing, right? I've been using AI now for about a year and a half in different regards. And a couple of my mates who run websites have been using AI to write entire articles, right? And that's fine. You can do that because there's not really a human element to it. You can just write a title. You can just write the prompt, get it all in there and do some cleaning up. And Google reads it. And Google, who's also an AI, goes, this sounds good, right? But YouTube, people read a title that goes best FPS games of 2021. And they're like, why would I give a shit? Right? Like there's no human element to this stuff, right? And here's the thing, right? I love Devin, but one of the major problems is how detached he actually is from the YouTube content space. You know what I mean? Like when he spoke to Ludwig and did an interview with Ludwig, you could just tell how detached from the actual YouTube content creation space he is. This is what happens with all the marketers I know. They're so good at marketing and they're so good at like SEO and brands and how to build websites and blog posts and do all this stuff, that the moment they come face to face with YouTube, they go, okay, I'm going to make it a title, a listicle, 5 different points. This is what it will be. And I'll go from there. When in reality, it should be some really human element, right? Focus on the click of the human, focus on the human engagement, the human concept. And he learned that when he talked to Ludwig, right? But this is just like, I don't know. I get really frustrated because people act like AI is this thing that's going to change the world, and it's cool. But it's also like, it's like the AI artist argument.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people who are upset saying like, you shouldn't promote AI art. And it's like, people who are going to use AI art aren't going to pay for artists.
That's true.
Right? And also like the AI art is never going to be as customizable and as carefully done as an artist. You can't turn around to it and go, can you just change that one tiny little segment right there? Just change it like really this specific way. It's like, no, you got to write a prompt and carefully figure it all out and do that stuff. I don't know. I just find it's like, it's because the vidIQ title ones have existed for a while where they use AI to create titles. Right?
Those aren't great.
And they're all shit.
No,
they're all shit.
They're terrible.
I could type into the AI that I use for some work stuff right now. Give me a title for ranking gym leaders or for Pokemon Scarlet gym leaders, and it's going to come back with things like ranking every Pokemon Scarlet gym leader, Pokemon Scarlet gym leaders ranked from A to B or whatever it is, right? When in reality, a really good title instead would be why Pokemon Scarlet's gym leaders kind of suck. ...
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that people go, oh, why do they kind of suck?
Yeah.
You know, they don't care about some random ranking, but they want to know why something sucks. But an AI is never going to think up from a prompt. And if you have the prompt to get it to that point, why do you need the prompt? Why do you need it?
So the reason I brought this up and I wanted to talk about it was because one, wanted to sort of, you know, give everyone a sort of a brief about this video and what Devin does in it, but also, yeah, talk about is like whether it actually has any potential use or whether it is just lazy or just pointless to begin with. Because while, yeah, you could do what Devin showcases of like generating titles, but it could also be a tool to help you like string ideas together. We could just throw something at the wall and say like, I want to kind of do something with this like Pokemon, but also, you know, like some sort of challenge, and then, you know, see what it spits out, and then hopefully that it triggers your own brain to connect an idea from something that it spits out as more of like almost like a little brainstorm, like a little mind map type thing, but having the AI kind of spit things back at you rather than you maybe like Googling different things. The AI can just do something like that. Because then he shows off like another example where I won't read the whole thing, but he basically used example from a creator called Zizaran, who Zizaran, probably I've said that wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he basically writes this like in paragraph describing Ziz, like the type of content creator is like, you know, that he lists 15 ideas in videos that are likely to go viral and receive 50,000 views. So it's like, okay, because the AI just knows
what's
that.
viral. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would likely search up. The AI has been like fed stuff, right? So the concept is that it's supposed to look for things that are 50,000 or more videos, but it's not smart enough to really do that, to be honest.
It's like it would just look at the view count and just go, okay, this fits the criteria.
Right.
But yeah, so it gives them this really detailed explanation, and then it just spits out all these different titles like that are very hyper specific to what he responded. So like the more, I guess, specific, and the more, you know, the more that you sort of feed it, the better responses that you can possibly get from the AI. But it kind of just seeing this video just really made me think, is like, could this be a tool used in some way? Not necessarily the way that Devin's showing it off, but could this be a tool, whether now or in the future, that could generally help someone figure out, you know, how to, you know, or at least, you know, at least at the beginning of their content creation journey, help them kind of get in the mindset of how they come up with ideas or where they draw inspiration from?
I think no, to be honest. Like, here's the thing, right? I've used it. Like, this is something I've literally used for the last year and a half, and it has never once helped me when it came to YouTube. Like, ever. It helps me when it came to the blogs that I was talking to people about. It helped me when I was coming up with like ideas, when I was doing written things. But at the end of the day, nothing will ever beat actually doing legwork research, right? Because there is a very emotive and very human element when it comes to trying to create content, right? And the moment you start trying to sidestep that and you're not putting real care into it, it's the same as when people just go to like Point Crow, look at his best ever video, and then try and make it again themselves. It's the exact same thing. The AI is just spitting out random shit. It has no actual human element to it. I could ask it to give me 10 Pokemon videos, and it gives me 10 Pokemon videos. But the problem is, no one gives a shit about those ideas it came up with. But I play and am a part of that community, therefore I'm able to say, and this is the same thing with like Yu-Gi-Oh, Nick, right? You could ask for Yu-Gi-Oh videos, and it could come up with like 10 things, right? But the reality is you're in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, and you could look at those 10 things and go, cool, I'm going to make those. But you'd probably be way better off just spending some time going, okay, what is doing really well in the Yu-Gi-Oh community right now? What is trending right now? What packs have just released? What stupid meme building decks have just come out that we can do challenges with? Like, that legwork and that like understanding of a community will go so much further, which is why the biggest issue that I had early on when I made Stream Scheme was I did a video where I talked about how I got my first 40 viewers, and my first 40 viewers came from the XCOM subreddit. Because what I did was I made a post being like, hey guys, I'm going to do a playthrough. Here's this idea, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be Iron Man. Can you fill out these things here in the comments, and I'll put you guys all in. It'll be the XCOM playthrough. I didn't tell them I was streaming. I went live, I made all their characters, and I played it as them with 3-4 friends watching. And then I wrote up a full story of everything that happened. I took screenshots, I took all this sort of stuff, and I made a big post saying, hey, here's how the campaign is going. I didn't tell them I was streaming. I just showed them the screenshots of people. I showed them this and blah, blah, blah. I went back, I did some more. I got people really invested in like 3 or 4 of these posts. And then I started putting Twitch clips into the Imgur folder that I was giving people of the photos. And then I got 5 more viewers. And then I did it again. I got another 5 viewers. And I kept going. I got a bunch of viewers coming in really, really quickly from this. And so everyone who saw that video, rather than come up with their own concept of it, they just tried to yoink and twist almost identically that exact thing. And our XCOM had to make a fucking post being like, please shut up, stop it, right? And the idea is none of these people were in the XCOM community, right? And that's a big thing.
Successful and wanted to recreate it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what the AI does. It sees a bunch of successful things and then throws it together in a random word sandwich. And it's like, sweet. But if you're trying to do that, you're losing the human element, right? If you're at that point where you're struggling so much to come up with a creative idea that you're using an AI, you're probably not going to be able to create a piece of content you're excited about or a video you're excited about either. You know what I mean? But if you're heavily involved in the community, heavily involved in the topic, you're passionate about the topic, then the creativity will start to flow when you start spending time amongst it and thinking, how can I come up with something fun? What do I enjoy most about what I'm doing? You know what I mean? You know, Linus probably sits there and goes, what do I enjoy most? I enjoy benchmarking different tech to an extremely specific high level. Okay, let's do videos where we test out keyboards really aggressively, you know, with an actual machine that measures it all. Or you've got people like, you know, Nick, your video about the Logitech mouse did really well. And that's because you're a bit of a tech head, right? Like you like tech and therefore you're passionate about it. And you were able to be comprehensive about all the things you liked about this mouse and didn't like and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's the biggest problem is that people look at these ideas of the AI and they go, it can generate 50 titles. Okay, well, even if one of those 50 is actually a good idea, you're probably not going to be able to execute it enough, right? Because you're not passionate about it or you're not involved in it enough. You know what I mean? The AI is, I don't know. I really struggle with this because people keep acting like AI is this thing that's ruining everyone. And it's like, not really.
It's got so many flaws. And that's it's like Devin makes a point to say it's like this like using the AI in this way or using AI in general, it doesn't replace a smart person's job. Replaces a dumb person's job. It's just doing all the searching for you, you know? That's all it's doing. When you're saying, "Oh, find the top 10 like ARPG videos." It's like that's, you know, it's just doing that the legwork. But at the end of the day, you still need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you're talking about and know what your goal is to begin with. Otherwise, yeah, like you've said, Eljay, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to go anywhere.
Look at the 3 big streams you talked about at the start today. It was Jerma, chess boxing, sushi. And AI is not going to come up with ideas like that, right? And that stuff's not going to be generated by that. That's generated by a bunch of people in a room having a laugh going, what if we all fucking did chess boxing? All right? Or Jerma sat there on his Twitch channel, because this is actually how he came up with the idea. He was sat there on a Twitch channel talking to people, and he saw someone get hacked, or someone was talking about being hacked or something like that. And he goes, Lamau, imagine if I did a stream where I actually got hacked. Just like in the middle of everything without saying anything. Wait, I'm going to do that. This is genius. That was a year ago. A year ago, those logs were him posting that, right? And it's just part of it. The ideas that do well, the constant idea of creativity, those things don't come from an AI.
No,
that's it. There was actually, it's really funny that you sort of like touched on Yu-Gi-Oh, because a friend of mine a few days ago, just randomly in the middle of his stream, I get a message at like, it was like midnight. He's like, hey, do you want to be in this like dumb little tournament I'm running on stream right now? I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, we're getting AI to write us deck lists and then we're dueling with them. And I'm like, sign me up. So we use...
See, now that's a smart way of using it though.
Exactly, right? That's it. And I was like immediately on board. So we got the AI, to generate deck lists around like a theme. And, you know, they were absolutely like, some were dog shit, some were like barely playable. And that was the fun of it. It was like, how do we utilize, you know, the AI? And sometimes the AI... So the side context, you can have 3 of the same card in a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. The AI would say like, use like 7 of this one card. And then we would be forced, like we would just have to forego the rules and just use 7 of that card. So we have to like create all this stuff. And it was honestly so much fun. And I was like, that is the way, like that is a really great way to use AI. It's really interesting and fun. It's like, okay, you know, all the time you see, you know, deck profiles online, people, you know, making these hyper competitive decks, things like that. But what about AI? What is AI going to spit out? And then we have to utilize that. So
that's a great way of using it as well, right? Like AI didn't generate my idea of doing AI Pokemon. I had that idea and then I used AI as a tool to create and generate a bunch of fake Pokemon for a video, right? And I think that's the big thing is you can use these tools to give you to make your content interesting or unique, but I don't think it replaces the core concept of coming up with something that's interesting in your topic or your niche or your space. And that comes back to what we were saying at the start. I think a lot of people, they want to make content for the wrong reason, and that's why they struggle with coming up with ideas or coming up with concepts. You know, one of the biggest things I see from new creators is they say things like, yeah, I don't know what I want my niche to be yet. And it's like, that's cool. That's fine. What do you enjoy? What do you like? What gets you really excited? And a lot of the time they'll go, oh, nothing.
I'm dead
And it's
inside.
No, legitimately, like, this is like what they say. Like, I have like screenshot after screenshot after screenshot for a video that I ended up not making because it was too depressing, where people would ask in Stream Scheme, I just don't know what I want to make content around. And I would say, well, what do you love? What can you talk about for 15 minutes nonstop? Like, if I sat you there with no preparation and said, talk for 15 minutes on a topic, what could you talk about? And people would say things like, oh, nothing. Oh, I'm not interesting. Oh, there's nothing like that. And it's really, really hard to hear because you think to yourself, well, how are you going to be a streamer or a content creator? Like, if you care, do you like, so I'd say things like, well, you must love games because you stream games. And they go, not really. It's like, so why are we doing this then? I was like, are you passionate about talking to people? And they go, no. I was like, is there anything at all you love doing? You get up and you're excited every single day. And they're like, no. And at this point, I was like, how many people are trying to be content creators who medically might legitimately need to seek help? Like, I'm concerned.
Are they teenagers though? Like, because to me, it's kind of like,
some of them are like 40-year-old men.
Okay.
I'm not joking. Some of them are like it's all ages of people.
Right.
And it's wild. The teenagers are the ones who are excited, to be honest. They're the ones who are like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do Minecraft. And it's like, you fucking go, I am, kiddo. Right. But it's like, after a few years of getting into adulthood, you start getting beaten down. And I guess they just lose a passion.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it, right? Because as I said, everyone knows that like I was so fucking scared to start the Eljay channel that I hired an editor to work on it. And I didn't niche down. I just did variety because I wasn't sure what I wanted to create content on. And then after a few videos, I was like, oh, I liked making that content. And also I don't like what's currently coming out for me. I'm going to take it on board myself. And now I'm really passionate and excited about what I'm making and doing. And it took me like 6-7 videos to discover that, right? And I think that's fine to work to discover something. And that's okay if you don't know straight away. But at the same time, people should really carefully think about what excites them.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone who's listening to this right now, I want you to honestly ask yourself, what can I make content around? Or what can I talk about for 15 minutes and be excited and confident in what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? Because if you can answer that question, you can probably make a video on it too. 15 minutes, that's a video.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. And like your sort of like 15 minutes sort of like, you know, improv of chat thing is great. Because like if you said that to me, I'd be like, well, let me tell you about technology. Like
just in general.
Yeah.
All technology starting from 1802 to 2023.
Yeah.
But yeah, you make a very good point I think when people want to become content creators, it's because they see the fame and they see everything, you know, of the people that have got all these views and they see what it can lead to, the opportunities, all the networking, everything like that. And they're like, I want that, I want that, I want that. But what they don't understand, it's kind of like, I only have this off the top of my head because it just happened. Messi, right? Wins the World Cup, greatest of all time. I want to be a soccer player. Oh man, that would be sick. I get to win the World Cup, hold it above my head. But people don't want that. They just want the fame of whatever's happening at the moment. They want to be that kind of all eyes on me type personality. And they don't realize that the legwork comes in from doing those videos, writing those scripts, doing all the filming and learning from your mistakes. Because believe you me, everybody makes mistakes and everybody will continue to make mistakes. There's no perfect person out there. And the sooner that you can actually put your foot in the water and go, now it's time to swim, the faster you will get to your goal. Because I think a lot of people procrastinate or they don't know how to go head first into what they're trying to achieve. And the way to do that is simply by doing it, right? You may hate it, at least you know you hate it then. You may think you hate it and then you love it and you're like, this is my new passion. But there is a lot of procrastination. I did this many times over my whole lifespan is I procrastinate, I miss the opportunity. I could have been so much further ahead if I just put my foot in that water and started to swim. But again, I mean, I think we're preaching to the choir most of the time because people who are listening to this are taking the first step. They want to get a different kind of perspective, or maybe they want to hear our perspectives and disagree and go their own way. And that's completely fine. But at least they're making an effort to do something. While a lot of people out there, they watch a video and go, that was so cool. I wish I could do that. And then they call themselves a content creator. That's what I find.
Yeah, that's it. And it's entirely the point as well. Like a lot of people, you know, like we're saying, I mean, think you've, like Eljay, I think you've made videos on this before as well, like talking about like how like, and we've said it on the podcast before, you need to be a part of the entire process. You need to learn yourself. You cannot just, you know, get an editor straight away or super early, you know, to do a bunch of stuff for you, because you can't tell or direct someone to edit or make a good video if you can't make a good video yourself. You need to be in the trenches and learn everything from start to finish and over multiple times, not just doing it once and being like, that was good enough. Like you need to do it over time until you've found like and refined the whole process. And then, you know, as you know, your entire sort of brand grows, and then you get to the point where you are earning a bit of income, and you're like, yeah, I want to sort of like output the sort of the quality and like the frequency of my videos. Like that's when you had that whole conversation. But you need to know what you're doing and get into that. And I feel the same way as you, Reapz. Like I've procrastinated for a long time. And it's only like, and you know, I attribute that a lot to just sort of not fully sort of understanding myself or my own direction of my content in general until, you know, sort of like the start of like last year was when I really kind of started sort of finding that whole identity of myself and kind of the direction I wanted to go. And then this year as well, just like finding like a network of people is so important, because like starting this podcast with you boys and having the Discord with everybody else as well, it's so empowering because everybody's working hard on their own stuff. You're all motivating each other, inspiring each other. And I think that's like really important. It's like, I mean, I think like Eljay, you said like, you know, for a long time you were just like in your own bubble. And then, you know, then you finally started to sort of like break out and like reach out to people and start interacting with more people as time went on. And you felt like really like a positive effect from that, right? Or was it? Yeah.
Honestly, to be honest, it actually had both positive and negative effects in the sense that like I met a lot of people who made me, I find that, okay, here's the thing, right? I think I've got a really good vibe check. Okay. I think I can hear someone or see someone talk or listen to someone and I can go, yeah, my vibe says you're bad. Like I'm not going to hold that necessarily like fully against them, because I know that like you can be wrong about someone and that's totally fair. And you should be aware that you can't judge someone instantly. But I find I can do a pretty good vibe check, right? And there are some people who talk a big game and then they kind of just don't actually do anything. Or there are some people who like are super, super nice to you and it's very clear that they don't actually give a shit whatsoever. Right, like, and I find in the content creation space, you find that a lot, right? Like you find it a lot. Like even like recently, I've muted every single piece of drama I can on Twitter, but I have now a few people who I really like are getting involved. I'm like, I don't want to mute you. Can you just stop? And it's like really rough because like one of the things they keep showing was like this one person. All these DMs came out about this one person going around to different people, DMing them, talking about how cringe or how bad this streamer was and all this sort of stuff.
Oh God.
And then they were showing screenshots of the same person who was insulting them behind the scenes in that person's chat, like saying, oh, you look so cute, or this is awesome. Like, you know, like sucking up to them. So like behind closed doors, insulting and like doing that. And like, it's just like, there's a lot of people like that. So to answer your question of going, how it had a positive effect? Yes and no. I find that like there was some positive effects in the sense that like Iona and I, we share content creation ideas daily, right? Like legitimately, like I'm pretty sure Iona and I talk every single day at some point, talking about content ideas, feedback, showing analytics, going, why do you think this happened? Like breaking it all down, right? But then there are other people who I've met who like only talk to me when they want something,
right?
And I'm like, well, so like, yeah, you know. So I find that like to answer your question, you got to be really careful about the people who you give time to and spend time with. I find,
yeah. Definitely was specifying like the core group of people that like pass the vibe check kind of thing, like creating that network of good people. I
do regret sometimes not staying in my bubble though. To be honest, I find that sometimes it's not with you guys, but like I find that sometimes I was a lot happier when I was just doing my own thing, making content, and didn't have like. And wasn't so aware of the entire industry and the entire space. You know what I mean? Like, again, not talking about you guys, but like I find that first year and a half, I was so confident because I didn't know anything that was going on and I was just doing my own thing, right? And then like as you start to spread out, you start to see both the good and the bad, right? And you start to learn about what other people are doing, and it makes you second guess yourself a little bit as well, right? Like, am I doing enough? Is this good enough? Or should I do this or that? Blah, blah, blah. So I think there's lots of good and bad, but I do sometimes regret not just living in my own bubble, you know, pantsless, doing my thing.
I think it's always
detail.
It's always going to be like pardon me. The grass is always greener type mentality, because there's pros and cons to everything. Like when you're in a big group of people, obviously it's a lot of balls you're juggling, not like that. Maybe it is. But there's a lot of things that you're kind of doing. It's kind of like, but when you are in your own space and you don't have to deal with the drama and stuff like that, because I barely go on Twitter. The only time I go on Twitter, and I said that I was going to try and do better things on Twitter, but I haven't. I just post go lives and then I post like 2 things, right? But when I go on Twitter, I'm just like, I can't deal with it, because I know I'm one of those reactionary people. When I think I see something that's wrong or like an injustice or just like, you know, basically rage bait is a lot of the things that happen on Twitter. I know that I can easily fall into that trap of just like writing back and like just, you know, saying what I want to say to them. But I know that it doesn't lead to anything, because that's what they want. And I hate that. It's like high school drama. And that's why I removed myself. I literally go, I do my streams, I do my stuff offline, I do my casual job, work around the house. And then if I've got time to, you know, go online and deal with that, then I will. But I try and stay away from social media aspects as much as I can. Not like the bad ones, obviously. Like people who I like being around, obviously I'll go there. But I'm just like, I can't be asked. I just can't be asked. It's the main thing.
Legit. No, I totally agree with you though, right? But I feel like that's what I mean when I say like as you leave your bubble and as you expand, there are other people who are more interested in it. So like a lot of drama I never even heard about. But then as you make more people and you join all the Discords and stuff like that, inevitably people are going to post like, look at this drama or look at this thing that happened, right? And even to a degree, the podcast, we will share big news that happens.
We have
right?
to,
And it's kind of like, it's one of those things that like drags you back in. But if you just ignored all of that and spent your time instead creating, right? It's such a better way of doing things.
Yeah.
Like, why would I spend an hour reading about the latest thing on our live stream fails when instead I could spend an hour editing?
Yeah,
right?
very true.
But
exactly.
But when you're a streamer and you leave your bubble, people link you things, they ask you things, and they go, hey, did you see this? Or whatever it is. And it's like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to be involved in that. I just want to make good content. And I think that it's much easier to do that as a YouTuber because you're not constantly being asked questions, right? While
true.
you're live. You know? Or like you're not like involved in other streamers who are live as well. Whereas like you just like, you're offline, you make your content, you edit it all, you release it. People could comment on it, but you can just fucking ignore them. You know what I mean? Speaking of comments, getting back onto a nicer topic. I have this commenter called Clisari who has been watching me for a while. She's a really talented creator. And she actually asked on my latest video about the whole people just trying to stream for hours and hours to grow and not like instead being, you know, more creative and talking about how Twitch isn't the space anymore it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And she commented pretty much being like, holy crap, I didn't know about your side channel. I didn't know about the Eljay Shorts channel. How did you, I really want to start expanding like that as well. How did you find your editor to work with you? And I had to be like, hey, actually, I don't have an editor, right? And I was like, I've tried to have editors, but every editor I've had hasn't quite gotten my vibe or hasn't quite, you know, been as invested as I am, which is totally fair. Like no one will ever be invested in your own content as you are, hopefully. Hopefully you are the most excited person about your content. And they pretty much was just like, how do I find an editor to start making more stuff? And I was like, honestly, if you find out, can you tell me? But like, I actually don't think I would in any shape, way or form be the kind of person or the kind of creator I am had I not edited for myself, right? Even a really bad edit, a really bad video teaches you something. You know what I mean? And I think that when you upload a video and it does really badly and someone else has edited it for you, you can easily be like, well, you know, I wasn't too invested in that. I only spent 2 hours recording and someone else edited it.
Yep.
But if you're like that person who sat there for 10 hours, you made that entire fucking thing, you're so invested in it that like the moment it goes out and it doesn't do well or it does do well, it's both defeating and rewarding in whatever aspect it follows. I think that's a big part of it, being invested in the results because you invested yourself into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people are scared because they're like, oh, if I release something that doesn't do well, I wasted all this time. And it's like, no, if if it doesn't do well, but you release something and you put a lot of time into it, that's fucking sick.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's so cool.
And again, I just want to quickly touch on that, because what you may think is bad because you didn't get the return of investment, aka people watching it or whatever, it may get bigger down the track, which I think a lot of people forget, because they put it out, they wait a week or a day or whatever, and they go, oh crap, I only got X amount of views. And then you're like, oh, it's over. That was a complete failure. But then, we talked about all those creators who they released one that kicked off, got hundreds of thousands of views, and then the trickle down effect to their other videos and go, oh, this one's also amazing. This one's also amazing. And they, pad the stats as well. So just keep in mind, I think you'll know after a time, because I don't know if you fall into this trap, boys, but I used to do this all the time in editing. You spend so much time editing, right? You get your footage, you get your thing, and you're like, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. And then you release it and it's like, oh, it's not that great, right? And then you have that moment of like, you go back to a video that you maybe have done a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and you got a different perspective because you're watching it for the first time again. When you're in the editing thing, you think this makes sense. This makes logical sense. This is connected. And then I look back and I go, oh, that was such a stupid thing to do. Why did I fast edit? Why did I do such like memey things there? And you begin to shape how you will edit in the future, or what makes a good edit. And you can't pass that by. You can't be this perfect editor, content creator, I should say, straight off the bat. You will learn. Even if you think it's amazing at the time, you'll look back and go, actually, it wasn't that great compared to what I'm making now, because I've done 10 more videos. So just keep that in mind.
Something I didn't, a column in my Notion board I didn't mention earlier. I was mentioning the content one, but I have the whole thing that it goes through the whole process. There's one called personal review, which is where I put something when it's time for me to go back and watch it a few days after release. Yep. Right. And I have a whole list of questions that I ask myself during the personal review, and I go through that. And I think that's honestly one of the most important parts of content creation, is because if you don't do a personal review, how are you supposed to actually grow? Right. You can't do a review just purely off the analytics. And on the topic of Out Reapz mentioned, if something can do well later down the line and stuff like that. I released, obviously, one of my early videos that I did myself was 101 to trading 101 Magikarp, right? And after like 23, it did really well, but after 23 days, it was about 2,000 views, right? So about 1,000 views per 10 days. And then at the 33-day mark, it's now at 14,500. So 1,000 views every 10 days. And then that last 10 days, it got 12,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is one of those things that, you keep releasing a decent level of quality and eventually all of them rise together, right? It's like a big cake.
Content creation is like a cake. That's going to be
that's the video right there. You say that, I just like this idea just like splashed across my head. It's like you ask yourself into your office, like, Nick, thank you for meeting with me today. How do you think you're performing? Well, Nick, I think I've been doing okay.
Yeah. It was like,
it's pretty close. Yeah. Like it's pretty close, to be honest. Like I can show you the book if you want. I won't show you
the book.
Because I have a book that actually, here it is. It's right here. Sorry, it's underneath my Switch right now because I've been playing Pokemon a lot.
That's a nice book, can I say, to the audio listeners. It's like, it seems like a suede type cover.
I got it from Kohl's.
Looks like it's bound with human skin.
That too. It is from Kohl's after all. So I can show you one of these, for example. This is the 15 minutes to catch. So I did a collab with EO, right? 15 minutes to catch Pokemon, then we battle. Loser has to give the other person a shiny Pokemon, right? And here's my list. It says learned, okay? It says, what are things you learned? And now this is one of the first videos I ever did a full voiceover track, or like did voiceover to help thread it all together. So I wrote learned. Voiceover helps a lot. But most importantly, I loved having multiple angles to cut between to tell my story, which meant that it was good that I had EO's footage clean and my footage clean as well as both our cams full. It meant that I could literally cut anything together and it would look like it was perfectly smooth, even if I was cutting something that happened at the end of the video to the start of the video, right? And then it says, was this a success? And I wrote, sort of. It did well in terms of my current videos, but it didn't excite me as much as I wanted, right? Because it was cool and it was good, but releasing it wasn't something that I was like, yeah, let's go. It was like, cool, this was good. You know what I mean? What's the new ingredient you added? And I said, the new ingredient I added was voiceover, and that went amazing in the editing sessions. Did you enjoy creating this? I said, absolutely. The thing I enjoyed most was it was fun to make, but I enjoyed watching it back myself, which is a big rule for mine. Is like, do you actually enjoy watching your own content back? And I find a lot of creators just won't watch their own stuff back. And if they do, they'll go, "Ugh, I don't like this." And it's like, okay, why? And then finally, it says a why, specifically, why did you enjoy or find this fun? And it was, I've never done a collab with banter and comparisons and juxtaposition of two people not in the same call, but doing the same thing. And that was really interesting, right? And that's like a whole page that I write up of information and stuff and talk about it. And I've got one for every video that I've edited myself and released myself that help me improve as I go. And it's just, I find really important.
I think it's reaffirmation is the main thing, because again, we know that there's nothing worse, especially if you're new to content creation and watching yourself back. A lot of people don't do this on streams. They'll never watch their streams back because it's just like, I'm sure it went fine. And then when you do watch it back, you realize your audio levels are all off from one scene to another, whatever it is. And I know that it's very hard to watch yourself back, especially in a video platform, and go, oh, I sound like that. I look like that. Oh God. Like you're too focused on your vanity rather than the actual overall product. But that is the biggest thing. You have to separate yourself from the actual content that you're watching, even if it is just yourself, because that is going to take you so far to actually be critical, not to the state of like putting yourself down, but going an actual critique of, actually, it would have been better if maybe the camera was a little bit more front on, or if the lighting, was better from this point of view, or I just rambled a lot, maybe what I'm doing right now. You have to go back and look at it and go, yeah, this is what I can improve on, because the more succinct it is, the better it is. I don't know about you boys, but there was that time in YouTube where I was like, the longer the video, the longer the Let's Play, the better the video is, right? People love long Let's Plays. While now, people like refined footage. They like refined stories, especially with the introduction of shorts to YouTube and TikTok in general. People like having lots of, mini endorphin hits all at once rather than going through a full journey, which you may go through, Eljay, when you go see Avatar. But it is something that I think a lot of people should learn, is to self-critique, but not be critical of yourself, if that makes sense.
Well, that's why I do the 10-minute. That's why I tell everyone I do the 10-minute challenge.
Yeah.
And I find that, and I say to people, this is probably the harshest I'll ever be to people, but they say to me like, oh, how do I get more confident, or what do I do? And I always say the same thing. Record yourself for 10 minutes. That's it. You're done. No music, no nothing. Just on your phone, record yourself, selfie mode, talking for 10 minutes and try and be engaging. Don't watch it back until the next day. Next day, watch it all back. And then once you've watched it back on the next day, instantly, without thinking, go in and start doing it again. And you can't fast forward, you can't skip ahead. You're just forced to watch yourself for a full 10 minutes, right? And you have to do it daily. And people always come with like different reasonings or different excuses, to be honest. They'll say things like, I'll just do it once a week. And I go, okay, well, you're defeating the point. You know what I mean? You're completely defeating the point. Don't bother then. And they'll go, oh yeah, I just don't know how I have time. And I always say the same thing there. I go, how do you not have 20 minutes?
Yeah.
You want to be a content creator? It takes literally hours and hours and hours to go live. It takes hours to make videos. How do you not have 20 minutes a day to do the most important possible thing ever? I bet you spend 20 minutes watching a YouTube video. Just rather than clicking on that YouTube video first, do the 20-minute recording and review, and then go click the YouTube video and relax. Do whatever, right? And it's the harshest topic I'll ever be about, because it is one of the easiest things you can do, and people try and find every excuse under the sun when I tell them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
I still do it.
Not just for that, but like that whole mentality I think is just applied to everything, and sort of what spurred the whole sort of idea behind this video. It's like, yeah, they don't want to do that 20 minutes, and then they don't want to do anything else that's required for them to get to their goal that they say they want to get to and achieve. They just don't want to put the work in.
Yeah. I think it's also the idiosyncrasies that you don't realize that you have. You can find yourself very engaging when you talk and go like, I nailed that, hit it out of the park, whatever. But when I watch myself back, I go, every time I start a sentence, I blink before I do it. Like I mid-blink when I start a sentence, or I say basically a lot. So I try and cut that down. I try and get rid of things that, one, just make me look not professional, and two, make me uncomfortable watching myself. And I know that people may be like, oh, that's a bad viewpoint. But no, in the terms of presenting, hosting, everything like that, you do have to go over it with a fine tooth comb and go, I can become better and obviously be more engaging if I change these things. So I think that the 10-minute rule of filming yourself is such a good thing. And you know what? If you don't want to do it on your phone, go right now, go onto your camera, because you're going to do a YouTube video, whatever it was, right? and film yourself talking for 10 minutes about the YouTube idea or the YouTube video that you're going to do. So you can say that I'm doing work right now. I'll make this into a YouTube video, actually put it in there. Because I guarantee you, it is a lot harder to do than what you think it is. Talking for 10 minutes about nothing, really, when you think about it.
Watching myself back, I've learned that I need to inject a bit more sort of like I'm a little bit too sort of, I guess, rigid at times when I'm like recording, and I need to sort of like relax a bit more and bring more sort of a bit more casualness and a bit more fun to when when I'm sort of like reading from the script or anything like that, which has been like invaluable. So then I've gone back and when I've been in sort of that recording process and then I'll re-record it again, I was like, let me give that another take. And then I record that and look at it back and I'm like, okay, that felt way more natural. That felt way more like a bit more fun. Which was like, when I was making a couple shorts recently, that was like a key thing, was like, yeah, I need this to be a bit more fun, a bit more sort of like casual, like, yeah, here's some fun thing I did. Like, instead of like, here's how you do this thing with Elgato. Like, it was very quickly apparent to me. It's like, and the more I do it, the more I will become way more natural. I'll just get it on like the first go, but that it takes time. You need to work up to it. I'm curious from you boys. Obviously, we're spending many hours every week in content creation, everything around it as well. How do you balance your creative outlet? Like, because obviously we all have our own hobbies and things we like to do outside of content creation, but what do you sort of gravitate towards with like having another creative outlet, like something else besides like the content you're making as part of your job? Like, what are some other things that I guess that you do that is a way for you to sort of just without any pressure, just like get a little bit of creativity out? It could be anything.
Wank.
Okay. Okay.
And how is that creative, LJ?
Sometimes I try different hands.
Yeah, okay.
You do the stranger. You sit on your hand until.
I said I'm being creative, not obvious.
Sorry. Well, this is the clip for the beginning, which is
How do you be more creative? Wank.
That's gonna be it. That's the
What's
intro.
funny? On the Trash Taste episode that Ludwig was on, they were talking about creativity and work and how they like got themselves, how they like grinded or not grinded, or how they worked super hard. And one of the things that someone joked about, I think it was Ludwig, joked about how when he was first starting out on YouTube, he set a rule for himself that he wouldn't be allowed to have a wank because like it just whatever it was. And Connor and like the two others on the pod were all like, yes. And apparently like all four of them legitimately like stopped doing it. And they've set a rule of like work days and stuff like that because it's like a whole thing that they just like found that it makes you more creative to not have a wank or stuff like that. And I thought it was funny.
What?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They stopped doing it because they would do it if they did it like it kind of like defeated the purpose of the work brain or something. I don't know. It was really funny to listen to, but also they were being serious.
Interesting, because I've heard the concept of a wisdom wank, which like clearing your mind so you can focus on other stuff. But like
I've heard like wanking before you have like a big fight or something. The boxers are like, no, you need that testosterone and aggression when you go in there. Afterwards,
you don't do it before boxing.
Yeah, right. But maybe
it can also make you sluggish. This is the thing. They've actually found that if you've had a wank like within 24 hours, you'll be much more sluggish, apparently, in general ideas of it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I would say our piece of advice is do not masturbate before getting creative for the week. And that pretty much summarizes the whole episode. I think we nailed it.
We wrap it there. I think we just wrap it there, right?
Let's
go. Wrap it there. You could do the outro, Nikki. Go on.
Let's go. Well, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy not wanking. And then...
Happy holidays, by the way. Sorry for the shorter episode, but it's Christmas. We should probably go have lunch.
We've got to film another one now. But thank you. A Merry Christmas, crazy Kwanzaa, tip-top tet, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate, or just nothing in general. Have a lovely day.
There we go.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Enjoy your See you next year.
Take care.